Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to Bloodborne Pathogen Safety Training. My name is Dan McCulca, and I am a member of the HSE team here at Dexter. Welcome, and let's get started on staying safe and informed. So, lesson objectives. So, today we're going to cover what bloodborne pathogens are, the risks of exposure, the protective equipment you need to use, and the steps to take if an exposure happens. So, what are bloodborne pathogens? So, bloodborne pathogens are nasty little germs hanging out in human blood that can cause some serious illnesses like hepatitis B or HIV, even. OSHA's standard, which covers this, is basically, it's 1910.1030. It's basically the rule book for keeping us safe from these microscopic troublemakers. And it's what we follow in the Dexter bloodborne pathogens policy. So now we're going to talk about a couple of these viruses and what to expect from them. So starting with hepatitis B, also known as HBV, it's a virus that targets the liver and can lead to serious conditions like cirrhosis, liver failure, or even cancer. So why this matters? HBV, causes thousands of deaths annually in the U.S. It's far from harmless. Symptoms are flu-like with extra things thrown in there, such as fatigue, nausea, belly pain, dark urine, joint pain, even jaundice, which is the yellowing of skin in your eyes. Transmission risk. HPV is very contagious, so there's up to a 30% chance from a single needle stick that you can become infected. This is much higher than HIV. And then the hidden danger. So half of those infected show no symptoms, actually, making unintentional spread very easy. And then survival skills. HPV can live in dried blood for at least a week at a time before it's no longer a threat. So disinfection is critical. Regarding protection, use PPE, get vaccinated, and make sure you're following safe working practices. HPV is serious, so be sure to treat it that way. So now hepatitis C, or HCV. Again, it's another liver targeting virus that often leads to chronic infection and serious liver damage. How common is this one? It affects roughly 3 million people in the US, and many of these people don't even know they have it. So that's a pretty scary thought. Symptoms are very similar to hepatitis B, including like flu-like symptoms, and then additional such as fatigue, belly pain, joint pain, and jaundice. They're often mild symptoms or absent for years before they kind of show up in like full force. The silent spread, so most people, again, they don't know that they have it because the symptoms don't show until they're very advanced in nature. So routine tests often reveal it unexpectedly for people. And then regarding protection, same thing. Make sure you're wearing PPE, following best practices at work, and reporting promptly if exposure occurs in your department or your building. Early detection makes a big difference. Now on to HIV, also known as human immunodeficiency virus. And HIV is a virus that weakens the immune system over time. So if untreated, it can progress to AIDS. How common is it? So roughly just over 1 million people in the US are believed to have it, many of them unaware. And once infected, it's for life. Symptoms include flu-like symptoms early on, such as fever, fatigue, or rash, but many feel fine for years. So regular testing is crucial. Outside the body, so HIV doesn't live long outside the body. Dried blood and casual contact pose very minimal risk. And then protection. So workplace transmission is rare with proper safety measures in place. So be sure to use PPE, stay informed, and report any exposures promptly. Now on to universal precautions. So universal precautions is a phrase used basically saying that you should treat all blood or body fluids as potentially infectious. So all body fluids except for sweat. If it leaks, protect yourself. So key practices, always wear gloves, masks, gowns, eye protection, use if a splash risk exists. So if you're handling a type of chemical which could potentially get on your clothing or on your skin, then make sure you're wearing gloves, mask, and eye protection. Hand hygiene, so it's essential. Soap and water beats wishful thinking every time. So make sure you're washing your hands. And then sharps safety, so like handling needles or any sharp objects. Be sure you're not taking any shortcuts. Never recap any needles. Handle with care and make sure they're disposed of appropriately in the correct containers. All right, modes of transmission. So bloodborne pathogens spread through direct contact with infected blood or body fluids. Sharps or injuries, including needles, broken glass, etc. Cuts, scrapes, even tiny ones can be the transmission of blood. Mucous membranes through eyes, mouth, and nose. Industrial accidents, first aid cleanup, and maintenance tasks. Important to note, you can't catch these from sneezes or mosquito bites. PPE and safe practices are your best defense. Exposure control plan. Think of this as your bloodborne pathogen playbook. So it outlines roles and responsibilities, PPE and safety procedures, hazard labeling, vaccination info, exposure response steps, training, and record keeping. It includes a designated program manager, which is typically the HSE manager, the written plan, documentation, including first aid logs, follow-ups, training records. Bottom line here is follow the plan. It's your roadmap to staying safe and compliant. For most employees, the plan just means that if you see blood or see somebody get hurt, make sure that either they are reporting it if they're able to, or if not, report it to one of your leaders on the floor. Summary of responsibilities. So program manager, they oversee the whole bloodborne pathogen program. So they some things that they are specifically in charge of include managing PPE, waste containers, and hepatitis B vaccinations. They also handle exposure follow-ups and training records. Supervisors, they ensure procedures are followed on the work floor. They report exposures and they get injured employees to first aid quickly. First aid providers, they use proper PPE, assist, clean, and disinfect after incidents, and they monitor supply levels of PPE. Janitorial staff, so they disinfect with approved solutions, typically bleach, and they must be trained in bloodborne pathogen safety for proper knowledge of how to clean up safely. So as a final reminder, everyone plays a role in keeping the workplace safe. So stay sharp and be sure to follow the plan. Risk of exposure. So higher risk roles include first responders, housekeeping and maintenance staff, anyone involved in an accident cleanup, or handling medical waste. Key reminder for this section, never pick up any broken glass with bare hands. Use tools like a brush and dustpan to avoid potential contact with infectious material. Safety first, always. First aid, best practices. So call trained first aid providers for bleeding injuries. Do not go it solo. Make sure you ask for help. So first aid kits should be easy to locate. Everyone should know where these are. They're typically located by the first aid areas, as well as the gray floor areas, and throughout the facility. So look for a leader, and they should be able to point it out to you, should you need it. Each training staff, or each shift, needs at least 2 trained first aid responders. Words are hard. Be sure to log all incidents in the first aid log, including PPE used and cleanup confirmation. Report any contact with blood or bodily fluids immediately. Make sure there's no delays with that. And then always wear PPE. It's not personal, it's protection. And yeah, just reminder there for this section, these steps protect everyone. So follow them and keep your team safe and prepared. On to signs and labels. So labeling equals safety. So infectious waste must be separated and clearly marked from the start. Sharp containers, so they be sure to use leak-proof, rigid, puncture-resistant containers, just like the two on the right. So no exceptions there. Waste containers, they must be leak-proof, labeled with biohazard or infectious waste. Typically, they're lined with red bags, and containers also signal danger. Label tips, so the label itself, which you can see on the bottom right picture, must be in a bright color. Typically, fluorescent orange is what is preferred, and which is what we use on site. Clear, readable text, and placed near container openings, so they're easy to see. So proper labeling protects everyone from coworkers to waste handlers. Do not skip out. Controlling exposures. So exposure protocol. So if an unvaccinated first aid provider is exposed to blood or OPIM, which is other potential infectious material, offer the Hep B vaccine within 24 hours, free of charge. So if declined, a waiver is signed, they can opt out. They can opt back in later. And the program manager, aka the HSE manager, handles all follow-up and documentation. So the bottom line here is exposure happens fast, exposure happens, so fast response is needed. Free protection and no judgment here with this whole process. Site exposure control plan. So the exposure control plan is your bloodborne pathogen safety guide. So it's stored in IntelliQuest, which is an online system that we use to track safety metrics and other safety things at Dexter. So if you're looking for more information about it, ask your supervisor or the HSC manager if you need access. The plan covers how bloodborne pathogens spread, prevention strategies, PPE availability and locations, signs and labels to watch for, and what to do after exposure. If you're unsure what to do, make sure you check out the plan or just ask your safety lead. All right, on to PPE. So PPE is provided for free. It's all supplied, so no need to bring your own. It's based on the risk associated with the hazard. Effective PPE, so must be fully protecting the skin, eyes, mouth, and mucous membranes. If it leaks, it fails. So first aid kit essentials include gloves, mask, goggles, apron, shoe covers, disinfectant, and a mouth shield. Maintenance and disposal. So be sure we make sure we clean, replace, and discard a PPE as needed. Contaminated gear goes in a marked bin immediately. Regarding gloves, so wear gloves if there's any chance of contact. If they're disposable, then they're only for single use. If they're like utility type of gloves, then they can be reused. These are typically only used by janitorial staff though. Masks and eye protection. So if a splash risk exists, just as I mentioned in a previous slide, kits include proper gear. The kit is pictured there with the Cintas label on it, and those are found through all our facilities. And then decontamination. So clean any blood, OPIM immediately with fresh 10% bleach solution. This is typically going to be handled by our first aid responders or janitorial staff. So only if you're trained to do this is then who's allowed to do it. PPE isn't optional. It's not. It's your frontline defense with preventing interaction with hazardous material. So use it properly and protect yourself and others. So post-exposure evaluation. So after an exposure event occurs, report immediately to the program manager, no delays. The incident is documented and the source may be tested with consent of the employee, of course. The exposed employee is then offered testing, treatment, and counseling, and records are securely stored long-term. This process ensures proper care and helps prevent future incidents. It's about protection, not just paperwork. So bloodborne pathogen training teaches employees how to prevent exposures to infectious materials, safely handle, clean, and dispose of them. It reduces the risk of spreading serious diseases, ensures OSHA compliance, and promotes a safer workplace. Thanks again for your attention and commitment to workplace safety. By understanding and following the bloodborne pathogen protocols, you help protect yourself and your coworkers every day. Stay safe and don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions. Thanks, team.